All right. So, big victory today. Supreme Court upheld Donald Trump's travel ban. And for the sake of this video, just because I want to say it, because everybody on Twitter is bitching about it, they upheld the Muslim ban. I'll go ahead and say it just because everybody's going to cry about it no matter what, anyways. I'll call it a racist and a bigot and a xenophobe, and I hate Muslims for this. But let's see what they said. The ruling concerned the third iteration of President Donald Trump's immigration restriction, which now they're willing to call it an immigration restriction because it's a losing point, which was challenged on the grounds that it amounted to a Muslim ban. In the 5-4 opinion, penned by Chief Justice John Roberts, the court found that Trump's immigration restriction fell squarely within the president's authority. The order is expressly premised on legitimate purposes, preventing entry of nationals who cannot be adequately vetted and inducing other nations to improve their practices, Roberts wrote. The text says nothing about religion because it wasn't a Muslim ban. It's from very dangerous countries. But liberals just have to. I shouldn't say liberals. I really shouldn't say liberals because American liberalism is cancer, but worldwide and traditionally, liberalism across Europe is very mild and more akin to centrism in the United States. So, but in the United States, y'all are cancer. What pussy hat wearing freaks of nature. So let's see here. Aww. Oh yeah, I'm sorry that your little protest outside the Supreme Court didn't alter their opinion of the law. The Supreme Court ruled Tuesday in favor of President Donald Trump in Trump versus Hawaii, the controversial case regarding Trump's September order to restrict travel to the U.S. for citizens of several majority Muslim countries. In the 5-4 opinion, 5-4 opinion, penned by Chief Justice John Roberts, the court found, the order is expressly premised on legitimate purposes, preventing entry of nationals who cannot be adequately vetted. But that's a key point to remember, is that it's premised on legitimate purposes. So this is, as the Supreme Court is ruling that there, and I guess since I've in previous videos I've had to explain how a bill is passed and how it works and the authority the president has. So let me go ahead and say this is a very important line. The Supreme Court, their job isn't to write laws. Now, I know when gay marriage was ruled unconstitutional, was ruled constitutional, and that denying it was unconstitutional, I mean, there is an argument to be made that the Supreme Court overstepped its bounds, and I do think that to protect gay marriage, we need to actually pass a fucking law because they're not protected right now. All a court has to do in the coming months is to reverse that ruling and say, actually, it's unconstitutional and blah, 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 blah. Then you lose your rights. But their job is to interpret the law. And at the time, they interpreted that gay marriage was denying gays the right to marry was unconstitutional. As did they do here, and they did it within the scope of the law. And it was a workaround, but they did it, and they viewed it as unconstitutional through the scope of law and the Constitution. Same thing here. Their job isn't to look at it like in their opinion. The judge isn't supposed to sit on the court and say, well, I feel like this is a Muslim ban, so I need to rule against it. That's not how it works. The court is supposed to be as unbiased as possible, to take as little politics into it as they possibly can. Now, both Republicans and Democrats are circumventing the validity of the court by imposing people that are open about their republicanism or, them being Democrats. Like Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who's openly doesn't, just flouts laws, fuck the law, I don't give a shit, I'm going to vote what my party wants me to vote. Or rule what my party wants me to rule, I should say. Alright. Let's see here. The case has been central to the Trump administration's immigration policy, presenting a key test of the president's campaign promise to restrict immigration and secure America's borders. I don't know what that's all about. The immigration restriction is Trump's third and affects People from Iran, Libya, North Korea, Somalia, Syria, Venezuela, and Yemen. Now, I like how they said in the very beginning of this that these were Muslim-majority countries. Venezuela and North Korea are both not Muslim-majority nations, but they are deeply, deeply, deeply flawed and violent. North Korea, we don't want to be taking people right away from North Korea. You don't know who they're sending in to try to spy, to try to cause mayhem for political gain. Wait till we see what happens with everything else. Hawaii alleged that the immigration restrictions was motivated by religious discrimination, noting that a majority of the countries included in the ban have primarily Muslim populations. During oral argument in April, Neil Katyal, attorney for the challengers in the case, cited Trump's post-election tweets about the case and argued that the travel restriction amounted to a travel ban. The court sided with the government, which argued in April that the restriction would be the most effective Muslim ban that one could possibly imagine. Roberts agreed with that argument, though the ban applies to 5 countries with Muslim-majority populations. That fact alone does not support an inference of religious hostility, Roberts wrote, noting that those 5 countries amount to only 8% of the world's Muslim population. Which is exactly right. If we were trying to ban Muslims in general from coming, it would be from everywhere. Everywhere. We would just say no Muslims anywhere. No country can send their Muslims here. Secondly, we're not trying to become Europe. I'm not even sorry to my European friends for this, but their countries are unilaterally fucked at the moment. Jihadism, the people get away with literally murder, and all in the name of that. Like, Britain is so, like, and I'm not even saying the British people, all right, but I will say that the British government is so scared to be called bigots. Like, it frightens them, and it's pathetic. It's pathetic like the things that they focus on over there, like the European Union, it's Parliament, banning memes. Oh, don't you mean? But no, but if you say anything mean about Muslims raping little girls, we're gonna have to come and kick your fucking door in and take you fucking hostage. It's absurd. Here we go with some Donald Trump tweets. What did they say was wrong about it? Among the tweets that were at issue in the case is one from September in which the president wrote that the travel ban in the United States should be far larger, tougher, and more specific, but stupidly that would not be politically correct. All right, so I dare anybody, okay? Another attack in London by a loser terrorist. These are sick and demented people who are in the sights of Scotland Yard. Must be proactive, right? Why'd you show that tweet? Do you think that terrorists aren't losers? You think they're good people? They're not sick or demented. They're rational, normal people. I guess in the scope of liberals here in America who actively support Antifa, they would be normal people. The travel ban into the United States should be far larger, tougher, and more specific, but stupidly, that would not be politically correct. And again, I'm not seeing where they're saying Trump is still calling it a travel ban at this point. So where is the issue? But maybe I'm wrong. Let's keep going. Viral and anti-Muslim videos. No, it's not anti-Muslim. It makes the president's job is to make his case for the American people, or to the American people, to support his agenda. He showed videos that were disturbing, yes. His case being that this is what we need to stop. Or do we not need to stop that? Do we need to have it to the point where, I'm reading, watching videos where police are actively saying like they're afraid to break up Muslim grooming gangs because they don't want to be called racist. They're actively afraid to confront Muslim gangs that are committing machete attacks and knife attacks. Count Dankula makes a great fucking point in his video where he says something along the lines of that it's hurting the very people you're trying to protect. The job of the United States isn't to fucking take everybody in. Our job is to create a safe environment for our citizens first, And if we decide to take immigrants, that is our duty to protect them at that point. And if you're just going to import anybody and not care about how dangerous they are, you're hurting that community. Because that community is going to be the ones that suffer. I'm not going to suffer. Other white people might suffer, but the vast majority of American citizens aren't going to suffer. The ones that are going to suffer are the immigrants that are stuck in the communities with these violent, horrendous extremists. And you want to import them in mass. It's absurd. So that happened. I also want to talk about Maxine Waters for a little bit. If I would have said any of the stuff that she has said about any of Obama's aides or people working under the Obama administration, I wouldn't be able to work again. The violence that's being spewed from the left will be met in turn with violence. I don't understand what they're trying to do. Are they trying to start a civil war? Is that the goal? Because if that's what they are attempting to do, they're doing a good job and they're going to get what they want. But the majority isn't on your side. That's what you've got to be afraid of. The majority is not in support of you. Even Republicans that dislike Trump intensely aren't going to join you. Because your goals are anti-Americanism. You support the hatred and bitterness towards an administration that you don't like, which is fine. But debate the facts. There are, I constantly am switching through progressive channels, who I'm not even going to grace by saying their fucking names, are constantly just non-arguments. Just progressive horseshit. Non-arguments, like it's all feelings. Oh, it's just disgusting and deplorable that Trump is doing this to the illegal immigrants coming into our country. Or they won't say illegal immigrants. The economic migrants coming to our country. Nah, man. Fuck them. It's not our job to take care of them. We are not obligated under any law that says that we need to take them and harbor them and feed them and clothe them and give them a job. House them. It's not our fucking jobs. It's the jobs of their countries to do that. And if we are gracious enough to take them in, then we're gracious enough. But obviously we're not. The vast majority of Americans have decided that they don't want more immigration. They want less immigration. Less legal immigration. Americans want less of it. It's not your job to play party politics. Your job as an elected official, even if your views are left-leaning, if the majority of the American people want something, it is your job to provide it. You don't get to say no. We pay your fucking salaries. And you're about to see, here in November, a horrible change for the fucking Democrats. It's not going to be pretty. It's not. They aren't in touch with the American base. The average American citizen, they're not in touch. They're completely out of touch. And they think they're in touch, but they're not. And we'll see. In November, I'll be interested to see how the Democrats fare. I mean, my personal prediction, my personal belief is that it's going to go nowhere. That they're not going to get it. But I could be wrong. And if I am, that's fine. But I don't see any path to victory for the Democrats. I don't see the Republicans picking up this red wave that Trump's talking about. I don't see this huge increase. I do see a small increase in Republican numbers. But this tidal wave of red, I just don't see it because we already have secured the vast majority of the United States. So I don't foresee us changing that many minds, but I do see us winning some new seats. So I hope the conservatives can keep it up. Later.